Tonight's DJNTV show is sponsored in part by Electro Voice, DJ Event Planner, ADJ, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, Newmark, and DJNTV Insiders.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the PHDJ podcast. My name is Mike.
And this is Joe Bunn.
How are you, Joe?
I'm good, man. I'm good again.
So we should preface this by letting everybody know we are dropping this episode while we're in Las Vegas.
Yep.
It should land, I guess, the Thursday while we're there, which is what, the 15th?
15th.
I think, by date. But we are recording this a week in advance. We're recording this before you and I have left for Las Vegas.
That's
and
right.
We preface that because if anything happens, and you know, not to start on a downer, but that did happen. Last time that we did this, I was in Las Vegas for the Wedding MBA. We recorded a week before, and sure enough, there was that horrible massacre at the country concert. So if we don't reference anything topical or anything major,
the show. How about let's just
good
say
or bad,
we're not talking about the show. We're not talking about
exactly,
show.
And that's it. It would be good if we had an opportunity to record next week and everything else, but we just weren't sure. So obviously next week we'll do a Las Vegas recap. You good? Do I have your attention? You look like you're distracted.
Sorry,
here,
man. I was telling you earlier. My mom's just checking in with me. My pop had a little hip surgery, so I just want to make sure he's good. He's good. So we're ready to roll. We're ready for the PHDJ.
It's great news. Yeah, you were telling me about that surgery. That's an amazing thing that they can just take somebody's hip out and
put another one in an hour.
And he's home in an hour or he's out of surgery.
I've sat at the dealership for longer for an oil change.
Right.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank God and good recovery to your pop. I hope
the OG Joe Bunn, the real Joe Bunn is what I call him.
Hope he's back and a dancing fool in no time.
He should be.
Yeah. So I wish we could talk about Las Vegas right now. We will talk about that, I guess, next week. We'll kind of do a mobile beat recap.
Yeah.
But for those of you who are in Las Vegas and hearing this for the first time, you basically have it because we're going to drop this on Thursday. So you have a choice right now. You can listen to this or go to Joe's seminar, or sit in Joe's seminar and listen to this on your earbud. And if Joe gets boring, you have an option.
You have a backup. You have a backup source.
Exactly. You can listen to Joe in stereo. So, good luck to for your seminar. And I guess we need to talk about my seminar in the past tense because by the time this happens. But anyway, so that's
killed, Mike.
That's
Mike, you killed.
I killed it, and I sold a ton of product. So I think you and I have flirted with this topic before, Joe, but I thought it would be really good to kind of bring up. And I think we'll call it, that's what friends are for, or friend zone or something like that. You are very friendly with your staff. Obviously, I see you guys. I have been down to Raleigh and hung with you guys, and I know that there's a bond there. Have you ever been in a position where you felt that friendship was being abused or taken advantage of or anything like that? And the second part of that is, do you ever kind of draw the line and say, I can't get this close to somebody because it might sacrifice professionalism or my ability to manage them or anything like that? And I know I did not throw this topic at you in advance.
Yeah.
I'm kind of springing on it so I can see the smoke coming out of your ears and I can see you contemplating. So
I'm thinking about it. I mean, there's no doubt that there's no doubt, I guess, that I'm closer with some guys than others. I'll start out by saying that. The main reason, though, being that I'm not, I guess a good example would be, somebody like Jana that has an office where there are his 5 or 6 top guys are actually in the office every day with him. Mm-hmm. Whereas my guys, and I think most of your people they do this as a secondary income. So I see my guys obviously at the monthly meeting, which I'm going to talk about in my seminar, how important that is, which I quite frankly picked up from you 10 years ago or more. Mm-hmm. So I don't see them often enough to where we're super friendly. In other words,
so Randy, I know your guy Randy. He's in the office a few days a week.
No, he's only really in the office, Mike, when I'm gone. So he decided not to go next week. So he'll be here Monday through Friday. Emails, phone calls, doing exactly.
So he's in the office, but there's very little crossover.
That's right.
You don't spend.
That's right. I mean, the whole office, like I've explained to people before, is only these 2 rooms. 500 square feet. So I don't know. I mean, it seems very odd to say this, but I don't have a lot of quote unquote close friends. I mean, I go to lunch every day by myself. I'm not one of those people that always needs to be around people. And maybe it's because I'm always around people. You know what I mean? Like on Saturday, you
appreciate that quiet time.
Yeah. And that's the other reason why, you saw my last office space as well, where I was in a shared office space, which I've always recommended, especially for people making that leap into an office space. But the new kind of shared office space, and especially here in Raleigh, that's taking off, is this almost like Google open concept where there really are no walls. And it's just a bunch of almost like picnic tables, and there's a ping pong table over here, and there's an arcade over here. And I'm like, that's not the kind of environment where I'd ever get something done. Like if I can't have a door, to my office, I don't want to be in that place. I can't do it.
Marshall Moore, who lead entertainer, he's actually going to be in Vegas next week, so you get to hang with him. Yeah. He used to work for a while for Etsy, the website.
Sure,
Etsy.
I remember this in Brooklyn.
And Kelly's a huge fan. They are in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
so
that's right, I remember.
And he said while he was working there, he said, "Look, if you guys ever want to come, and I'll give you a tour of the building." And so we did one day, and I was shocked by that. It was just like you're describing. It was this open plan where very few people even had their own desk, if you will, or their own workstation. Everybody had a laptop, and you basically just walked around this. And believe me, it was this mammoth 5-story, in this big building in Brooklyn. And if you wanted to work one day in the cafeteria, or if you wanted to have there were a lot of like meeting side rooms, but not where it wasn't your office. You reserved it. Hey, I want to do a 3 o'clock, brainstorming session with this person. And I remember walking around the building that day thinking, I don't know if I could handle this. And maybe that's just a generational thing, but I need a desk. I need my space that's mine. And like you said, I need to be able to close a door every once in a while and have, but this is a new generation, and maybe that collaborative working is better.
Maybe we're old, Mike. Maybe we're old.
There's no doubt I'm old. I don't have any question about that.
But honestly, man, so, I guess the term friend, I mean, is considered different ways. I mean, sure, they're all my friends. I mean, in fact, at my seminar, I mean, I really, and I think you would say the same thing, especially for guys that have been there a long time. The guys in all these pictures that I post on Instagram of your guys, I mean, they're family. I mean, you would, pretty much bend over backwards to do something for somebody. The only, and as I'm talking, this is more coming to fruition, the only time that I can remember being abused would be that guy that remember we talked about had the drug problem, and he was pawning his gear.
Right.
And
he was trying to leverage his relationship with you, as in like, cut me some slack, Joe. You know me. We go way back, that type of thing.
And he really had me bent over a barrel, Mike, because he had so many shows on the books. And if you could get him to the show, and again, let me preface this by saying I did not know he had a drug problem. I thought he had a money problem. Right. So I didn't know I was sending out an addict to a show. To be fair, never once did I get a complaint from a client about him. In fact, the opposite. They thought he hung the stars and moon, but they didn't know how much time and effort and pawn shops I had to call to get his gear back to get him to that show had been going on behind the scenes. And of course, I never did let him know.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm going to be vague here because I don't want to talk about anything specific, but there's talent that you don't need to micromanage. There's talent that is a pleasure to work with. And you're never going to have quote unquote issues. And there is also talent that you have to stay on top of. You have to make sure that they've called their clients. You have to make sure that their music is in line. And I think if the talent is good enough, then they're worth that effort. If they're not good enough, then they're certainly not worth that extra effort. But I mean, there are plenty of people on staff who my office staff sometimes will say, oh, that person's such a pain in the ass. Why do we? And I'll go, here's why. Look at the referrals they brought in. Look at the amount of work they do, everything else. So I think part of what we do with managing talent is understanding, you know, some people you just plug and play and you never have to worry about. But some people you really have to micromanage. And if they're good enough, you'll do that.
I know.
It's worth it.
Hey, Mike, can I interject a just quick side question or side question. Have you ever had anybody on the staff that you personally hired, you know, kind of went through your program that was like the bad apple or that just disrupted every meeting? It you know, almost broke up the whole camaraderie of the group. Like a know-it-all.
I fired a guy about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was a good DJ, and I really struggled with it because he got good reviews. Yeah. His customer service skills were not great. He had a number of times where we had a client show up in the office for a meeting with him and he wasn't there. So we called him and, oh shit, was that today? That type of thing. Right. So he was one of those guys I really had to sit on and help him do the customer service stuff. But once he got to the gig, he was phenomenal. Yeah. But yeah, he was also, I hate to use the word cancer because it's such a serious thing, but he was becoming cancerous with the staff. And he was one of those guys that I just sat down and let go. And he was furious. What do you mean? I bring in all these referrals and I do this. And I was like, dude, I've warned you before. And you keep, you keep behaving like you have and disrupting things and talking behind my back. And it's, he became going back to that. Some talent's worth the effort. Yeah. He became not worth the effort. Yeah. And then, I've talked about this. I think I wrote about this in my book as well. Mm-hmm. You have to, if something like that happens, you have to turn it into a positive with your staff. So the very next staff meeting that we had, I talked about why I fired him. I talked about how if you go down this same route, you're going to be let go as well. And, I didn't just say, hey, that guy's not here anymore. It became a learning lesson for everybody on staff, or else it wouldn't have been worth it,
Yeah, I mean, I've had guys, we always call it the monthly mandatory meeting, but it really comes out to be about 9 times a year, Mike, that we actually have a monthly meeting. There's just some months I don't have enough.
Yeah.
Or in August, I'm like, man, there's nothing. This is all.
Well, you know what I've also done? I don't do my meetings in the wintertime because we're doing so many showcases. Sure. So I feel like I'm already straining everybody's schedule enough that I just set my first meeting of the year to be the first Monday in April. Perfect. That'll be our first staff meeting of the year, just because we don't have as many jobs going on, so I don't feel like I have to keep everybody as informed. Right. Yeah. And then, like I said, we've done so much showcasing that I don't. Yeah. Right. And I also don't need to strain everybody. Hey, look, I need you this Sunday. Oh, and by the way, there's a staff meeting.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. It's too much. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And by the way, going back to the topic that I originally brought up, this guy who I let go, he tried to, but Mike, we go way back and I thought we were cool. Right. I've been to your house and it became that. And that was one of those moments where I thought to myself, you have to listen. I love being friends with my staff, but there are some times where you have to draw a line and say, we're going to be, I can be friendly with you, but you don't have to come to my house every single time. And I don't have to come to your house every single time and all that, because there are certain people that can be very cool with that relationship. Yeah. But there are certain people, I think, who don't get the fact that now I'm your boss. Yep. We hung out. We went to a Mets game yesterday and tailgated. Yeah. But today, especially because if you maybe did something wrong, now we have to have one of those serious conversations where you can't put your feet on my desk and we're not talking like friend to friend. We're talking like boss to employee.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely a fine line. You got to be careful as a boss. I think what I was going to say about the monthly meeting when you rudely cut me. I'm just kidding. When you were just telling about how many you guys have was that the guy would show up and just act like it was the biggest burden, to be there for that hour. Right. Sit in the corner, scowl on his face. So then people were like, what's up with your boy? Why is he coming here acting like that? And it put this mood over the whole thing. It was almost like he was scowling at me the entire hour. I was asking him to, rebuild the Wall of China or something. It was just ridiculous.
And here's a night where you're taking your own night out.
Right.
This is a night where you're not home with your family, and you're not doing sales appointments. Yep. You're basically taking your own time. And you're right. That's something that I think the staff should be appreciative of, that the whole goal of having staff meetings. And P.S., if you any kind of multi-op, even if you just have two other guys, you should be having some kind of regular meetings with 100%. Them. There's no other way to maintain quality and keep your guys up to date on all the things that you're up to date about. Yep. But if your staff doesn't see that as, wow, this is Joe helping us do a great job, if they see it as, I got to go to the office tonight and sit there while Joe blabs on, then you're right. That's somebody who's unappreciative. And not only is that somebody you should probably remove because of his attitude, but he's going to spoil everyone else's attitude.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
He's going to make everyone else on staff question, why are we here? Is this worth our time and effort? Yeah, damn well it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's anything like that. I mean, it's, again, I know this is kind of jumping off what the original topic was, but you will know, like right now, and probably the last 18 months, I have the best group that I've ever had in terms of a group all at once. Cohesive. Yeah, I mean, will they sit there and tell mom jokes for, half the meeting? Yeah, but they're almost like brothers. You know what I mean?
But you know what, Joe? I think that that's actually a good sign. Going back to, I do think that there's advantages of being friendly with your staff. I love when our meetings start and, the first 10, 15 minutes before I say, all right, everybody, let's start talking about it's, everybody telling war stories about their weekends and, this maid of honor who got drunk and mom jokes or, wherever the topic goes. We have a couple of guys on staff who are particularly like our stand-up comics. They're the guys who do all the impressions and, this is Mike's dance move or whatever. Yeah. And it becomes a funny thing. I think it's pretty awesum.
I do too, man. I do too. Good group right now for me.
Are you the oldest of your staff?
No. Randy is older. Mark Tony's older. I guess I'm third in line out of the 15 probably.
So, because going back to the joking, that's something that's kind of common at Elite. I am definitely the oldest on staff, I think. And I think the next closest is 7 or 8 years younger than me.
Right.
So I've got a significant head start.
Right.
But so my age is often the butt of jokes. And I'm okay with that because I also can often come back with, you want to go run a 5K?
Yeah.
Or, something like that. Or, look how many wedding wire referrals I brought in last year, wedding wire reviews or something like that. So I don't mind it, but I also think it's important to counter it because I don't want the reputation to be, we're working for a guy who's old and out of touch, especially in our industry. I think it's kind of critical in our industry that we might not be able to stop Father Time, but we can stop from being out of touch, if you will, or getting dated.
Sure.
And I think that's something that we all need to do.
Yeah. I mean, again, and I think you and I do a good job of keeping up with music, which is probably, as a DJ, the most important thing that we can do to stay relevant.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is, probably a different topic for a different podcast, but I really don't feel like my age has cost me a show yet. I say yet, do you?
How would you know that?
Because I rarely lose a show. I don't know.
Okay. Ooh, it's cocky. Good for you.
No, I mean, normally if somebody comes here, so I don't. You're right, Mike. I don't. There certainly could be people that inquire with us, and I say I'm available, and I never book the consultation. But if they come here, they leave with a contract or call me a couple of days later for one.
Right.
But I don't know that. You're right. I don't know that.
I mean, one of the ways that I think it manifests itself is when we do our showcases.
Yeah.
And we let people know who's open on that day.
Yeah.
And I'll look back and I'll see, wow, I was open for 7 of these jobs, but only 2 of them booked me.
Oh.
And the other 5 didn't walk out the door. They booked other elite entertainers.
Yeah.
So you can ask yourself, well, why was that? I mean, obviously,
but
a lot of it
has a premium, a Mike Walter premium, right?
No, exactly. So it's not even the
money.
I didn't want to pay more. because I'm the same amount as everybody else, right? So and my ego doesn't get bruised by that. I hope it doesn't sound like it does. I'm great with it as long as Elite gets the deposit.
Right.
I'm great with it.
Me too.
Because the worst thing that's going to happen is either A, I get a different booking on that day,
right.
or B, I have the day off, which
Your
I'm
super
fine.
hot wife and you were sitting on the beach.
Yeah, exactly.
Asbury
right.
Park or
If
whatever.
it's the summertime, I get to sit on the beach
right.
or whatever. So I'm not concerned either way. But I do look at it and question it sometimes, and you'll never. And you can't even ask the client, hey, by the way, why did you go with, Marshall over me? Why'd you go with Phil over me? A client's never going to go because you're old.
Right.
But you have to, that has to be at least one of the factors, just like I'm sure I get jobs because of my age. You know what I mean? If somebody's looking at myself, or let's say Alex, who's one of our newer guys on staff, 25.
Yeah.
Some client might go, oh, we want the 25-year-old. But some people might go, oh, we want Mike. He's obviously more experienced. He's obviously older.
Right.
So especially because of our showcases and the fact that we allow our clients to pick and choose, those factors all come in.
Right. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So let's get back to the friendship thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to turn down an invitation, or have you been asked, for example, to be in any of the bridal parties of your staff?
No, because I think that they were already, everybody was, because again, my guys
that's
are
right.
older.
You thought about that. You don't really have a lot of marriages going on. We've been in the last 10 years, pretty much all of Elite has gotten married. Yeah. So it's been a fairly common thing. And listen, I've been honored. Dominic asked me to be in his bridal party, best man, in fact. And I accepted it. I thought it was phenomenal.
Sure. No, it's awesome.
Honor. Yeah. Chris, I wasn't in his bridal party, but he asked me to officiate his wedding, which again was another honor. But I wonder, and if anybody is listening to this and wants to comment, is that something, would you accept that? Would you see it as a great honor, or would you see it as, this maybe I'm getting a little bit?
No, man. I would accept that. I would think it was a great honor. As a friend, a boss, a mentor, however you take it. I think that's I think I've only. I don't know that I've ever been anybody's best man. I've been in a few wedding parties. I've missed a lot of weddings, to be honest, Mike. It's just bad time. I get booked so far in advance. I've missed some really amazing events. I said that in one of my last videos, like how many soccer games have I missed? How many weddings have I missed?
Right.
So I have missed some things, but I think it's a huge honor, that you can't take for granted. If somebody asks you to be that person, if you're available, yeah, absolutely. Right. You want to be that guy.
Yeah, you mentioned Jason Janai before having office staff, and I'm in a similar situation. Dominic and Chris work in our office. Right. Lynn is an office manager. Right. Corey, before he left, worked in the office. And you definitely build a bigger bond, or a tighter bond, or whatever you want to call it, with the people that you see day to day.
5 or 6 days a week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One of the things I don't love about Tom and Chris Monaco, who own Elite Video, they for years worked out of our office, our main office, but they opened up their own spot closer to where they live, so that's mainly why. But I don't see them now every day, and so that that, not that it's crushing to me, but I miss that, because they were, especially Chris, he's one of those guys that I talked about. He's the funny guy on staff. He's always doing the cut ups and stuff like that. Having Tom and Chris in the office was a pleasure. It was just it changed the vibe when they no longer come into the office. Yep. So, but no doubt you build up, and if you don't see your staff on a regular basis, I can see why there's not that
camaraderie or whatever.
Dominic's worked for me for 20 years and has been in the office for 18 of those years. So, he started out helping us bag props back in the day, and then moved over to sales and everything else. So, Dom's been kind of my right-hand man and pretty close to me a lot.
Yeah. There's definitely going to be people like a Randy or a Dom that you see more often, that work with you closely, but I just think as a boss and an owner, there is a fine line between becoming too friendly and still having that boss mentality. But there's no doubt that I've been to people's houses and people have been to my house, and we always go out to dinners together, or we always do fun things as a group. But it's pretty rare that it's just me and ex DJ out hanging out or getting a beer or whatever.
Right. Right. It's not that rare in my world. Like, for
Yeah.
example, I mentioned Met games. I have a couple guys on staff who are
Yeah.
Met fans.
Yeah.
And we will a number of times go to games. We'll, hey, I got tickets for this. You want to go? And we'll take a ride out together. And maybe for early, we'll tailgate.
Yeah.
So those situations definitely do pop up. And I've never been one to draw that line. But I do have to say there have been times where that bond and that friendship has made it a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
And I have to basically say, this isn't the guy you hung out with last week. And again, a lot of it has to do if somebody does something wrong, maybe didn't call
right.
a client or kind of screwed up. And then they almost want to trade on that or leverage it and be like, well, Mike, come on, we're cool.
Homie. Right.
Yeah. Well, no, we were cool last week. Now I have to be your boss.
Right.
And,
Now I'm pissed off.
And we can go back to being cool next week. But
Yeah.
for now, you need to know that
was
you
stupid.
disappointed me, let me down, and this is how we're going to make it
Right.
better.
I like the way if you're from New York, Mets become singular. You know what I'm saying? Like you go, I'm going to a Met game.
I'm going to a Met game, not a Mets game. I probably
That's what you just
technically
said.
should be a Mets
I
game,
don't know.
but I said Met.
I feel like I
Yeah.
need to be in the know. Like if I ever go up north again, that I need to say, yeah, we got.
Yeah, I mean, how would you say? I'm going to a Yankee game, not a Yankees game. I'm going to a Panthers. Well, I'd probably say Panthers game. Met game, Yankee game, Red Sox. Well, Sox kind of sounds like a. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird.
Tangent. You can tell we're coming to the end of our podcast.
Right,
when we start
right,
going
right.
off,
We got all.
tangents. So
Anything
I
else,
think
Mike?
this one was good.
Yeah,
we're gonna wrap this somewhat up. We'll drop this in Las Vegas, and then next week we'll do our recap.
Yeah, that's right. So again, everybody, 919-364-6186. If you've already done it, you don't need to do it again, but just text PHDJ to that number, and you'll be the first to know when we drop new episodes or new products or whatever. You might get a text blast, if our seminar's about to start and everybody's still in bed. You never know. Mike?
All right, Joe. Great
man.
chatting with you. I will see you in a couple days.
I will see you soon, sir.
All right, man.
Later.